Hey everyone, welcome to the Product-Led Summit, and I'm Jess Weiss, and my session on the #1 growth hack, being a better manager, also known as how to drive a product, how to have a high-performing product-led team, but ultimately, this is the answer. So as I said, hey everyone, I am Jess, and I work here at SoapBox. We help over 500,000 employees, from startups to big corporates, be better managers, have high-performing teams. And we do this particularly where you spend the most time in your one-on-ones and your team meetings. So I like to think I know a thing or two about having a high-performing team, but you will be the judge by the end of this. And hopefully you will also agree with me with this statement, that every single one of your product-led growth problems can be solved by being a better manager. Being a better manager gets you a high-performing team, and that is the secret to awesome product-led growth. So hold me accountable. If you think, yes, how do I do that? Stay tuned. If you think hogwash, that is BS, there's no way, stay tuned, because maybe I'll shed some light or maybe you'll have some good insights back to me on why this isn't true. All right, either way, let's get in. But before we do, I might suggest actually what you can do is you can just pause and tweet at me. And just let me know, share with me them insights, because I can do two things. One is I can share with you these slides so that you're not furiously taking notes. The other thing I will do is I have sat down with leaders at all of these companies that are speaking at this summit, and I asked them, what are your people leadership issues, and how do you solve them? How do you solve them in the context of having a product-led growth team? And they shared. So it was far too much to put into this. So I've got a whole whack of other insights that I'd love to share. And so tweet at me. I will share those with you. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, back to the regular programming. Let me give you a little bit more detail on why I think I've got some credibility here around talking about this. According to Malcolm Gladwell, I've become an expert. I have my 10,000 hours of people, and I think you might too. So look at your calendar, switch tabs, go over to your calendar, and see, does it kind of look like this? This is what my calendar looks like. And so I have my 10,000 hours of leading my team, of getting the scrapes on my knees and the bruises on my elbows as I've learned the hard way, and in talking with our customers and with other managers about their experiences. So if you're kind of like me and you've been around for a little and you've had some teams, you might be a people expert too. You just don't know it. So I might. What I'm going to do is try to draw some stuff out of you and see what comes. All right, plan for our time. I'm going to assume that you've read the blogs. I'm assume that you've clicked the bait, you've gone to Forbes, and you've read 6 Ways to Become a Better Manager. And you look to Brandon Strapper, and he said, best managers perform constant self-examination and are aware of their strengths and flaws. Thank you, Brandon. That's great insight. But how? What am I supposed to do? Should I journal every day? Should I answer these 10 questions to find out more about my strengths and flaws? I want to know how. So we've all read those. I've read those. I've left frustrated. So what I'm going to try to do today is share with you very specific, tactical things that you can do today, tomorrow with your team that will change your performance. And if I don't, hold me accountable, please. So we're going to get practical, and that's how it's going to be. Another thing to keep in mind as I go through this content is I kind of think about this stuff as a Pinterest board. There's so many wonderful things you can do, but really you can only do one type of Snow White cake. Find the one thing that inspires you and do just that. You cannot make the Snow White and the Ariel and the Sleeping Beauty cake for your friend's birthday. You can only make one cake, and in similar, you probably only implement one thing that inspires you, and try that, create a new habit, and then maybe come back to this presentation or think about something else to introduce. And yes, we did just talk about Disney princesses and birthday cakes at a SaaS product-led growth conference. Thank you very much. All right. What are those product-led growth problems? Well, let's look at what we're talking about at this summit. We're talking about poor customer experiences. We're talking about transitioning to product-led being tough. And yeah, I know that one for sure. Talk about pricing not right. Something we're struggling with right now. Conversion rates suck. Yeah, that's a constant for all of us. So these are the problems we're all facing. Am I in your boardrooms with you, or are you kind of nodding your heads? Well, let's, harumph, that is tough. Let's figure out, how do we solve them? Well, like I said, it's the people stuff. Now you're probably thinking, Jess, people, that's fluff. Or you need a lot of experience and gray hair to get there. I disagree. I think that the problems that you're facing that are direct business issues actually can do relate back to your people. And in terms of experience, well, I talked to these folks and they don't have much gray hair, but they do have a lot, had a lot to offer from their experience in leading product-led teams at these companies. So let's dive into what they and I have found from my experience. All right, first one, customer experience is off. The customer comes onto into your app, they're getting the wrong message, they're getting served up the wrong feature first, it's janky, the feature. Well, it's not anything to do with your development process or the level of ideas that you have. It's that your team just isn't focused on the right things. So I talked to Kyle, and he talked about assigning a KPI, a metric, to each employee so that that employee knows exactly what they're after and have then the motivation, because it's something that they can own and see, I did that, that hit this metric, that metric is important to our company goals. Is that just the source of energy for me and for many people. And so he said, when you do that, that's when you start to hit the issues that you're facing. And so if your customer experience is off, define what those metrics are that you want to be hitting, and then assign people to that exact metric. That's something we did just last quarter at SoapBox. And one of the big things was we need to talk about distribution. Who is signing up for SoapBox and across which channels? And so Paige, we said, you're accountable for iOS. Shannon, look at Android. And when they were focused in, that's when they started hitting their goals, and that's where we started to see change. And so if your customer experience is off, you can follow the exact same flow, and that's when you'll start to see change. All right, second issue, transition. Oh, so painful, takes so long. The biggest thing is, you might not have the right people in the boat or on the bus or whatever analogy you want to use. And in order to get the right people, Kieran at HubSpot, VP of Marketing, who leads their growth team, talks about flexibility. He said if he wasn't able to hire folks that could work remotely, there's no way he'd have the caliber of people on his team. If I'm not mistaken, he's got 50 people reporting into him, and I think it was like 4 or 8 that were sat in Dublin with him. And so good talent, they have different ways that they want to be working. And if you really want that good talent, you will need to meet them where they are and give them the flexibility so they can work in the way that they need to. And it's interesting, Eric provided another really good insight here. At Pendo, how he thinks about it is hiring for his weakness. So normally we think about, oh, I have these weaknesses, I need to overcome them, and then as I'm hiring, I want to hire talent to replace myself. But in fact, I don't want anybody to replace me. I'm already me. We have one of me. We need somebody else. We need somebody to complement where you are not strong. And so think about that as you're making the transition. Look at the skills you need. Look at what you are able to do and what you have today, and then find that white space and fill that. And I will say the other very tangible thing to do is, if you are sitting there right now and you are thinking, this person, they are not the right person for freemium, for our transition as where we want to be, your gut is probably right. We started our journey with a 10-person sales team. We were an enterprise SaaS company, and today we have no sales team. We have 0 salespeople. And that was a tough journey for us. And what I'm proud about is that along the way, as we made that shift, we could have open conversations with folks on our sales team to say, hey, we're heading here. This is where you want to go with your career. Is this the right fit? And if not, then let's help you. We're going to help you continue your career journey so that both of us can be successful. So trust your gut and have the confidence to make some tough calls. All right. Third issue, pricing, just not right. You may think, well, I need to offer more discounts. I need to up the price. I need to change from monthly to annual. No. I say you're not spending enough time with your team. I talked to Tim at Hrefs, VP marketing over there, and he knows a thing or two about pricing and analytics. Well, and it's not about changing any one thing. It's about spending time with your team. And he talked about figuring out within your week how much time you can allocate and take out from the work that you're doing, and take all of that and invest in your team. Spend time with them, because they're the ones that have the insights. They're the ones that need information from you. And they're the ones that need to be motivated, and you need to make sure are engaged in order to fix the pricing problems or whatever other tangible business issue you have. And Rory from Intercom put it greatly when he talked about prioritizing feedback, input, and openness. And so if you're not spending time with your team, you're not giving them feedback, input, and openness. And then when you set the bar high, like, hey, we need to figure out our pricing, or hey, we need to make X dollars MRR this month, then they won't know where they stand and how to improve. And so even if you're laser focused, your team will still be flittering around and not as effective as you want. Now, of course, at SoapBox, we do this in our one-on-ones. And so to give you a very tangible example of how this relates right back to pricing, I'll sit down with Shannon, who leads our performance marketing, and we'll talk about, what are the numbers telling us? Where are people clicking on our pricing page? What's the customer feedback? What are we hearing from customers as they review our pricing page? And what are the processes that we can do better? How are we A/B testing various things so that we're getting the insights we need to determine the pricing? If I didn't have this weekly, regular one-on-one with Shannon and this standing agenda, we'd be dead in the water. All right, final issue that we face, conversion rates. They are not where we want them to be. It is all about enabling your team to test and learn. We've heard this and we know all of the conversion rates, but it's really hard to get into the very specifics. So I kind of liked how Olaf from MixMax, the CEO, talked about it. And he talked about enabling the team to be their inner stock trader. And he shared this spectrum where you kind of think, you know, there's the Zen Buddha on the Buddhist monk and the stockbroker. And the Buddhist monk's kind of more like the designer, the engineer. And the stock trader is more like the growth person. And it's this growth person. Don't you just love that little beep, 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 beep? Okay, back to the regular programming. It's the stock trader that really brings the ability to fail fast, try risky things, be completely bullish and aggressive and energized and go out on a limb. And as we're talking about conversion rates not working, the main thing that shifts conversion rates is frequent test and learns, test and learns, test and learns, test and learns. So we have an Excel spreadsheet, a Google Docs, Google Sheets that is shared across all of us, where we document all of our tests, and I encourage the stock trader in my team. A lot of them are like, oh, I want to think about this, I want to measure, I want to analyze. No, go, do, try. Okay, that didn't work. Great, go, do, try again. That is the cadence that we run at, and that is so stock trader. All right. So I just shared a whole whack of things. I'm going to pause for a sec, talk very slowly, get you to read this. Is there anything that you put a checkbox to? Yeah? What's the one thing? What is the one thing that you will do differently? You got it in your head? I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because we're not quite yet there at what is going to make you change your habits. What changes habits is fear. So I want you to pause for a second. I want you to think about your biggest problem. I want you to think about the conversion rates that just aren't there. I want you to think about your cash flow or your burn rate and what's going to happen if you don't hit that big important milestone. Think about the funding raise. Think about that board meeting. You got that? Do you have that tummy feeling? Okay, now think about your team. Think about the folks that you have hired where you are spending the majority of that burn rate on, and think about how effective they are. That is the money. That is where your unlock comes from in making them high performing. And so whether it be giving them a KPI to focus on, or giving them, encouraging them like a stock trader, or giving them the flexibility to work in the way that they want, or having just awesome one-on-ones where you're connecting and learning their insights, but also making sure that they're motivated and engaged, that all of those things will help your team be better performing, which will help you essentially hit your milestones, have an awesome board meeting, raise your next round, etc. All right, so don't be another statistic, be a better manager. That is your number one growth hack. That is my message for you. And as I shared before, I sat down with all of these folks, and I've added, you'll see a couple of even new logos where I didn't even get to talk about in this presentation. And so tweet at me. I've got way more insights that I'd love to share with you. Kind of like sitting down for wine or beer after work and complaining about your employees and all this shit that we're going through and how hard it is. Well, we kind of did that over the calls, and that's essentially what we're going to share with you. All of those frustrations, and then all of the experience and the tips on how to have a high-performing team. All right, I'm excited to hear from you. And of course, if you want to have awesome one-on-ones, just saying, go to SoapBox. We have an iOS app. Go to our website, download it. It's also free because we're a freemium app, and it's free forever. Best business model ever. Anyways, that's that. I'm Jess. It was wonderful to spend time with you. Take care. Ciao.